Have you ever felt it? That nagging whisper in the back of your mind telling you you're not quite enough? Or perhaps, conversely, that you're too much? Too loud, too quiet, too sensitive, too intense. In a world that constantly bombards us with images of curated perfection, where every social media feed is a highlight reel of flawless lives, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that to be loved, to be accepted, to be truly unforgettable, we must first become a polished, sanitized version of ourselves. We spend countless hours, often unconsciously, performing for an invisible audience, editing our emotions like we edit our photos, posting smiles while our hearts are tired, and telling everyone we are fine because it's simply easier than explaining the messy, beautiful truth of what's really going on inside. But what if I told you that this relentless pursuit of perfection, this constant striving to fit into a mold, is precisely what's holding you back from becoming the most magnetic, the most impactful, the most unforgettable version of yourself? What if the key to leaving an indelible mark on the world and on the hearts of those around you isn't found in erasing your perceived flaws, but in courageously embracing them? This isn't just a philosophical musing, it's a profound truth echoed by some of history's greatest thinkers, from the ancient Stoics to the pioneering depths of Carl Jung's psychology. Carl Jung, the master cartographer of the human psyche, revealed a truth that society often tries to obscure. We don't truly desire what appears flawless. We are, at our core, drawn to what feels authentic. Think about the people who have left the deepest impressions on your soul. Were they the ones who had it all together? Whose lives seemed perpetually perfect? Or were they the ones who made you feel like it was okay not to have it all together? The ones who were honest even when it wasn't pretty, who laughed without hesitation and cried without apology. Those are the people who stay with us, not because they were flawless, but because they were real. And in a world drowning in fakeness, in carefully constructed facades, real is revolutionary. This video isn't about giving you a strategy to manipulate others into remembering you. It's not about charm or superficial tactics. It's about a deeper, more profound transformation. It's about becoming so deeply rooted in who you are, your authentic self, with all its beautiful complexities and contradictions, that no one can ever truly replace your presence. It's about cultivating an inner strength, an unshakable calm, and an ability to be fully present without constantly performing. The Stoics understood this intimately. Marcus Aurelius didn't speak to impress, he spoke to understand himself. Epictetus didn't chase attention, he mastered his inner world. And that, my friends, is the real power move in today's world. Owning your truth so fully that you stop needing anyone's permission to be powerful. If you've ever felt like you're too much or not enough, if you felt overlooked no matter how much you give, then this video is going to flip that narrative on its head. We're diving deep into 7 paradoxical traits that make someone truly unforgettable. These aren't the traits society told us to chase. They're often the very ones we've been taught to hide, suppress, or silence. But here's the twist. What you've been hiding might be exactly what makes you unforgettable. And if this kind of content speaks to something real in you, if it challenges you or brings you a sense of peace and understanding, then there's one simple free favor I'll ask. Just tap that subscribe button. That's how we keep growing this space together, with truth, with depth, and with no filters. Let's get into it. Let's uncover the unforgettable you. Trait 1. The courage of authenticity, unmasking the real you. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves for a moment. Most of us are performing, often without even realizing it. Not on a grand stage, not in front of a cheering audience, but every single day in countless subtle ways, just trying to keep up. We edit our emotions just as meticulously as we edit our photos before posting them online. We flash a smile, a practiced agreeable expression, even when our hearts are heavy and tired. We tell people we're fine, not because it's true, but because it's infinitely easier than attempting to articulate the intricate tapestry of what's truly going on beneath the surface. This has become second nature, an ingrained habit, a default setting in our interactions. But here lies the profound problem, a silent erosion of the self. When you perform for too long, when the mask becomes too comfortable, you inevitably begin to forget who you actually are underneath the act. You trade the invaluable currency of authenticity for the fleeting, often hollow reward of approval. And after a while, that approval, no matter how much you accumulate, stops feeling like enough. It becomes a bottomless well, never truly quenching the thirst for genuine connection and self-acceptance. Aristotle, with his timeless wisdom, once declared, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." A simple yet profoundly challenging statement. How, indeed, do you truly know yourself if you've spent years, perhaps even decades, meticulously crafting and becoming the person the world told you to be? This isn't merely about the curated lives we see on social media. It's about a deeply ingrained mindset, a pervasive way of being. It's about the subtle ways we censor our opinions in conversations, watering down our excitement or passion so we don't come across as too much. It's the unconscious avoidance of taking up our rightful space because somewhere along the winding path of life, we were taught, explicitly or implicitly, that being fully ourselves was inherently risky, too loud, too different, too inconvenient. But here's the liberating truth. A truth that history itself screams from its pages. Every single person who ever genuinely changed the world, who pushed the boundaries of thought or society, was, in some way, all of those things. They were loud when others were silent, different when conformity was the norm, and inconvenient to the status quo. They dared to be themselves unapologetically. Carl Jung again beautifully articulated this journey. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not the version your parents expected you to be, not the persona your job prefers, not the comfortable, agreeable iteration your friends are most at ease with. No, he meant you, the raw, unfiltered, flawed, evolving, magnificent version of you. That, he argued, is where your true power resides. Not in the meticulously polished image you present to the world, but in the unvarnished truth beneath it. Jung's entire psychological model, in fact, was built around the concept of individuation, the lifelong, often arduous process of integrating all the disparate parts of yourself, even the messy, contradictory, and uncomfortable ones, to become a whole, complete human being. And let's be real, wholeness is infinitely more compelling more magnetic, and more sustainable than any fleeting illusion of perfection. Think back to those unforgettable individuals in your own life. Were they the ones who never stumbled, never showed a moment of weakness? Or were they the ones who were honest about their struggles, who laughed with their whole being and cried without shame? Those are the people who resonate, who leave an imprint. They are the ones who, by their very existence, give us permission to be ourselves. In a world saturated with artifice, authenticity isn't just refreshing, it's revolutionary. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, famously challenged us to examine our lives, not merely to live them on autopilot. And a crucial part of that examination involves asking the difficult, uncomfortable questions. Questions like, where am I pretending just to be accepted? If you allow yourself to sit with that question, truly sit with it, for long enough, you will inevitably begin to find the cracks in your carefully constructed identity. The subtle, often hidden places where you've unconsciously traded your truth for comfort, for a fleeting sense of belonging. These aren't places to be judged or condemned. They are precisely the places that need your gentle, unwavering attention. Because that's where the masks reside. And when you begin, slowly and courageously, to peel them off, you start to feel something wild, something unfamiliar, something profoundly liberating. Freedom. They will tell you, of course, that being real is too much. They'll say, you're too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too soft. But notice a pattern here. Every version of too much is often just code for hard to control. And that, my friends, is precisely the point. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about not being owned, not being controlled by anything outside of you. When you stop bending yourself into uncomfortable shapes to fit into someone else's comfort zone, when you reclaim your inherent right to be, you reclaim that profound freedom. You become someone who lives from the inside out, not the other way around. You become the source of your own validation, your own peace, your own direction. Plato, in his famous allegory of the cave, spoke of the shadows on the cave wall, false images we mistake for reality. How many of us are still living in that cave, mistaking the shadow version of ourselves, the one we believe is easier for others to digest, for the real thing? But there is nothing easily digestible about authenticity. It is bold, it is layered, it is challenging, and yes, it is absolutely, unequivocally worth it. Because once you stop hiding, once you step out of that cave and into the light of your own truth, something incredible begins to happen. The people who are truly meant for you begin to find you. Not the ones who merely tolerate your shine, but the ones who reflect it back to you, amplifying your light. And the ones who aren't ready for your truth, they will fall away, quietly, naturally, without a fight. Let them go. Because you were never meant to be a watered-down version of yourself. You were meant to be whole, fully expressed, at peace with your beautiful contradictions. Not everyone will get it, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need 100,000 fans. You need a handful of people who truly see you, who really see you, and love you precisely because of it, not in spite of it. So, the next time you find yourself playing it safe, putting on a mask to make someone else feel comfortable, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself that one transformative question: is this truly me? Or is this merely the version of me they will accept? That one question, asked with genuine curiosity and courage, can change everything. Because self-respect doesn't begin with setting boundaries. It begins with radical honesty. And the most important honesty you will ever cultivate is the kind you owe to yourself. In the end, we are not remembered for being liked by everyone. We are remembered for being real with the few who truly mattered. Let your presence be something they feel, not just something they see. Let your authenticity speak louder than your appearance. And let your truth be the unwavering beacon that makes you truly unforgettable. Trait 2. The power of imperfection. Embracing your scars. We've been sold a pervasive illusion, haven't we? The idea that to be loved, respected, or even just remembered, we have to be flawless. That we need to meticulously clean up every rough edge, erase every past mistake, and wear this polished, impenetrable version of ourselves like a suit of armor. But here's the truth. A truth that no one tells you until you're utterly exhausted from trying to keep up the charade. Perfection doesn't connect people. It creates distance, a barrier. What truly connects us, what forges genuine bonds, is pain. It's struggle. It's our shared humanity. Nobody truly bonds over how perfect your life looks on the outside. They bond over the moments you got knocked down, when life threw its hardest punches. And yet, you still chose to rise. They connect with the vulnerability of your journey, not the sanitized destination. Aristotle, whose wisdom we touched upon earlier, famously said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." But real self-knowledge, the kind that transforms you from the inside out, doesn't come solely from studying your strengths, from listing your accomplishments. No, it comes from owning your shadows, from bravely confronting and integrating the parts of you that didn't always have it together. It comes from looking at your flaws, your past missteps, your vulnerabilities, and saying with quiet conviction, "That's mine, and I'm not ashamed of it." Because shame, that insidious, corrosive emotion, only holds power when you try to hide. The moment you bring those perceived flaws, those hidden parts, into the light of acceptance, they lose their suffocating grip. And in that profound moment of self-acceptance, you begin to take your power back. Carl Jung, once again, offered a profound insight that resonates deeply here. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Think about that part of you you've been tucking away, the one you've convinced yourself makes you unlovable, weird, too emotional, too complicated. What if that very thing, that perceived flaw, is actually your superpower? The very thing that could set you apart, make someone else feel profoundly seen, or even lead someone out of their own darkness? But if you bury it out of fear, out of a desperate need for external approval, you rob yourself, and indeed the world, of what makes you uniquely, irreplaceable you. We all carry scars. Emotional ones, mental ones, perhaps even physical ones. And society, with its relentless marketing, has been trying to sell us cover-up for years. Cover up your pain, cover up your past, cover up your sensitivity, cover up your story. But those scars, they are not signs of weakness. They are undeniable proof that you healed. They are proof that you felt deeply, that you fought through immense challenges, and that you didn't give up. that resilience, that incredible bounce-back ability. That is what makes you magnetic. People don't remember the person who never cracked under pressure. They remember the one who cracked, perhaps even shattered, but refused to collapse. They remember the one who put themselves back together piece by piece and emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Let's bring in the Stoics for a moment, as they offer a powerful framework for understanding this. Epictetus, the former slave who became a profound philosopher, taught that it's not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond to it. So, your mistakes, your failures, your moments of perceived weakness, they are not who you are. But your response to them? That is your character, that is your identity, that is your story. And stories, by the way, don't move people when everything goes perfectly right. They move people when the protagonist faces the fire, when they confront their deepest fears and challenges. And yet, they keep going anyway. It's the journey through adversity that inspires, not the absence of it. Socrates, in his characteristic directness, urged us, be as you wish to seem, not perfect, not pristine, just real, because people aren't looking for idols, for unattainable paragons of virtue. They're looking for proof that being human, with all its inherent messiness and vulnerability, doesn't make them broken. And when you show up, flaws and all, when you bravely lay bare your authentic self, you become a mirror. A mirror that reflects back to others what's truly possible when you stop trying to be untouchable and start being honest. You give them permission to be human too. Now, take a moment to truly think about this. What's one thing you've been hiding perhaps for years because you thought it made you less? One chapter in your story you've been scared to share, terrified that it would make people look at you differently, judge you, or even reject you? What if, instead of making you weak, that very part of your story actually makes you profoundly unforgettable? What if the thing you've been most ashamed of is actually the exact thing someone else desperately needs to hear, to feel less alone, to feel understood, to feel a glimmer of hope? Plato believed that truth was not just something external, something to be discovered in the world, but something deeply internal, residing within each of us. And what greater truth is there than to declare with unwavering conviction, yes, I've struggled, yes, I've failed, and yes, I'm still here. That's not a confession of weakness, that's a declaration of strength. That's you standing in your full, messy, glorious humanity and refusing to shrink for anyone else's comfort. Because here's the undeniable reality: the world doesn't need another filtered personality. It needs realness. It needs people who have been through it, who have felt the sting of life's challenges, and who are willing to share their journey, not just their triumphs. It needs you, in all your authentic, imperfect glory. Trait 3. The unshakable core. Freedom from external control. In our relentless pursuit of happiness and fulfillment, we often inadvertently hand over the reins of our inner peace to external forces. We become dependent on the approval of others, the accumulation of possessions, the attainment of certain statuses, or the perfect unfolding of circumstances. But what happens when those external factors inevitably shift, as they always do? Our peace shatters. Our sense of self crumbles. This is precisely where the profound wisdom of the Stoics, particularly Epictetus, offers a radical, liberating perspective. Epictetus, who himself endured the ultimate loss of external control as a slave, taught a fundamental truth that underpins all true freedom. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, these are within our control. Our body, our possessions, our reputation, our social standing, these are not. And true freedom, he argued, isn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's about not being owned, not being enslaved by anything outside of you. Think about the illusion of external validation. We crave it, don't we? The praise from a boss, the admiration from peers, the likes on a social media post. We contort ourselves, we dilute our opinions, we suppress our true desires, all in the hope of receiving that fleeting nod of approval. But this craving, this desperate need for external validation, is a subtle form of enslavement. It means our peace, our self-worth, our very identity becomes contingent on the fickle opinions and ever-changing whims of others. When you stop bending yourself into uncomfortable shapes to fit into someone else's comfort zone, when you reclaim your inherent right to be, you reclaim that profound freedom. You become someone who lives from the inside out, not the other way around. You become the source of your own validation, your own peace, your own direction. I remember a time, early in my career, when I felt utterly consumed by the expectations of others. I was so desperate to prove myself, to be seen as competent and indispensable, that I constantly sought external validation. Every project I undertook, every decision I made was filtered through the lens of, will this impress my superiors? Will this earn me praise? I worked tirelessly, often sacrificing my own well-being and personal values, all to meet an ever-shifting set of external benchmarks. The more I chased this external approval, the more exhausted and hollow I felt. My sense of self-worth became a fragile thing, rising and falling with every compliment or critique. I was, in essence, enslaved by the opinions of others, constantly reacting to their perceived desires rather than acting from my own internal compass. The turning point came during a particularly stressful period, when despite all my efforts, a project I had poured my heart into didn't receive the recognition I had desperately sought. I was devastated, not because the project itself failed, but because my entire sense of self-worth was tied to its external reception. In that moment of profound disappointment, I stumbled upon Epictetus's teachings, his words, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters," hit me with the force of a revelation. I realized I had been focusing all my energy on controlling the uncontrollable, the opinions and reactions of others. I had neglected the one thing I could control, my own internal state, my own values, my own response. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but a gradual, conscious shift. I started to ask myself, am I doing this because it aligns with my values, or because I want someone else's approval? I began to detach my self-worth from external outcomes. I focused on the effort, the integrity, and the learning process, rather than solely on the result. This didn't mean I stopped caring about my work or striving for excellence. It meant that my motivation shifted from external validation to internal satisfaction. And paradoxically, as I became less dependent on external approval, I found myself becoming more effective more creative, and more genuinely respected. The quiet confidence that emerged from this internal shift was far more powerful than any external praise. I had reclaimed my autonomy, my inner freedom, and in doing so, I became unshakable, no longer tossed about by the winds of others' opinions. This is the essence of Stoic freedom. Recognizing that while we cannot control external events, we always have control over our judgments, our attitudes, and our responses. When you stop bending yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone, you reclaim that freedom. You become someone who lives from the inside out, not the other way around. You become the source of your own validation, your own peace, your own direction. This inner sovereignty is what makes you truly unforgettable. It's the quiet power of someone who knows their worth, independent of external circumstances, and who cannot be manipulated or swayed by the fleeting opinions of the world. It is the ultimate act of self-respect, and it radiates a magnetic presence that draws genuine connection, not conditional approval. Trait 4. The continuous becoming. Growth as a conscious choice. Growth. It's one of those words we all readily embrace, isn't it? We say we want it, we strive for it, we celebrate it, but not everyone truly understands what real growth looks like, or perhaps what it feels like. Because real growth, the kind that transforms you at your core, isn't just about reading more books, accumulating more knowledge, or hitting a new milestone in your career or personal life. While those are certainly aspects of progress, true growth is far more profound. It's about the courageous act of letting go of old versions of yourself, shedding outdated beliefs and habits without losing your soul in the process. It's about choosing to evolve, not because you're chasing external approval or trying to keep up with some societal ideal, but because you are aligning more and more deeply with your true, authentic self. It's a journey of continuous becoming, a relentless pursuit of self-actualization. And let's be honest, some people often confuse growth with performance. They shapeshift, chameleon-like, to fit into new environments or social circles, not to genuinely level up their being, but merely to blend in. But fitting in has never, and will never, be the same as belonging. One changes your outfit, your external presentation, the other changes your life, your internal landscape. Plato, with his characteristic insight, once said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself." That, my friends, is the beating heart of real transformation. It's not about impressing others with how much you've changed, how many new skills you've acquired, or how much weight you've lost. It's about looking in the mirror, deep into your own eyes, and knowing, with quiet certainty, that every step forward, every difficult decision, every uncomfortable truth you've embraced is something you chose, not something you were pressured into, not a survival tactic, not another mask to wear, but a conscious, deep, quiet, and grounded decision to become better. Not for them, not for anyone else, but for you. The Stoics, those ancient masters of self-mastery, had this figured out long ago. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, reminded himself daily in his private meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." A simple directive, no performance, just embodiment. For the Stoics, growth wasn't primarily about external achievements or accolades, it was about character. It was about becoming someone whose inner world wasn't ruled by outside noise, by the clamour of public opinion or the fleeting allure of material possessions. So, while everyone else was out chasing popularity, accumulating wealth, or pretending to have it all together, the Stoics were focused on the inner work, the quiet power, the stuff that truly lasts, that endures beyond the changing tides of fortune. And here's the crucial distinction. Evolving doesn't mean abandoning who you are. It means refining who you are. You don't throw away your essence. You expand it, you upgrade it. Think of it like your smartphone. It still looks like yours, still functions like yours, but now it runs faster, smoother, smarter, with new features and improved performance. That's how your identity works too. You're not becoming someone entirely new. You're removing the glitches, cleaning up the old programming, and unlocking features you didn't even know were there. The truth is, you've always had the potential. Growth just brings it online, makes it accessible, makes it manifest in your life. Carl Jung, again, spoke of individuation, the process of becoming whole. And a significant part of that journey is shedding the parts of you that were built on fear, on pleasing others, on desperately avoiding discomfort. Not everything you picked up along the way was meant to stay. Some beliefs, some habits, some identities. They were survival tools, and they served their purpose in a particular season of your life. But now, they're keeping you small, holding you back from your true potential. And the moment you recognize that, truly see it for what it is the moment you consciously begin to evolve. Not reactively, not because you're trying to prove something to someone else, but because you finally understand something deeper about yourself, something that demands expansion. Now, let's clear something up that often causes confusion. Choosing to grow doesn't mean you hate who you are now. It simply means you love yourself enough not to stay stagnant. That's the profound difference. People who fear change often mistakenly believe that growth is about rejecting the present, about finding fault with who they are. But real growth is actually about respecting the present so much that you refuse to let it be your limit. It's about saying, I've come this far and now I'm ready to go further. That's not self-rejection, that's the highest form of self-respect. Socrates believed that the unexamined life was not worth living. And when you begin to examine your life, not with harsh judgment, but with genuine curiosity, you start to see the patterns. You see where you've grown, where you're stuck, where you've compromised your values just to fit into rooms you never even wanted to be in. That awareness, that clear-eyed recognition is incredibly powerful, because you can't change what you're not willing to face. But once you see it clearly, you get your power back. You realize you don't need to wait for permission to become the next version of yourself. You can just start, right now, and listen. Growth is messy. It's not all glow-ups and instant breakthroughs. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it means saying goodbye to people who only liked the older, quieter, more agreeable version of you. But let them go, because you're not here to keep everyone comfortable. You're here to keep your soul awake, to honor your own evolution. Aristotle, again, wisely stated, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." Growth is precisely the same. It's not a one-time leap of faith. It's a daily decision. It's choosing reflection over reaction, discipline over impulse, courage over comfort. And you won't always get it right. There will be stumbles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to announce their evolution because it's written all over how you live, how you speak, how you carry yourself. You'll know you're evolving when your silence starts saying more than your explanations, when your peace becomes louder than your anxiety, when the things that used to trigger you now teach you profound lessons, and when the people you used to chase now chase clarity because you've made it so undeniably clear who you are and where you're going. So, if you're sitting there, perhaps on the cusp of a new chapter, wondering if it's truly time to change, here's your sign. Don't wait for rock bottom. Don't wait for permission from anyone else. You are allowed to outgrow what once felt like home. You are allowed to shift, to stretch, to let go of labels that no longer define the magnificent person you are becoming. Growth isn't betrayal. Growth is truth. And when it's rooted in your deepest values, not your fears, it becomes something no one can ever take from you. You don't grow to be loved. You grow because you already love yourself enough to move, to expand, to become. And that, my friends, is what makes you truly unforgettable. Not the version of you that stayed the same for acceptance, but the version of you that kept becoming, kept evolving, no matter who didn't quite get it. Keep becoming, keep becoming. Trait 5. The unyielding standard, setting boundaries and knowing your worth. There's a quiet power that awakens within someone the moment they truly realize they deserve more. It's not a loud, boastful declaration, nor is it an arrogant sense of superiority. Instead, it manifests as a calm, steady presence, an inner knowing that subtly communicates, I'm not settling anymore. It's like a switch flips within the soul, and suddenly the old patterns, the one-sided relationships, the draining conversations, the constant tolerating of disrespect, the exhausting pretense, they simply stop. Not because the world outside has miraculously changed, but because they have. Because once you genuinely know what you're worth, the begging ends. The chasing ends. You're no longer desperately seeking scraps of love or fragments of attention. You're holding out for what's real, for what's authentic, for what truly aligns with your deepest values. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, offered a profound directive that speaks directly to this truth. Never value anything as profitable to yourself which shall compel you to break your promise, to lose your self-respect, or to hate any man. Let's translate that into modern terms. If you have to betray yourself, if you have to compromise your integrity, if you have to diminish your self-respect to keep someone or something in your life, then it's already too expensive. The cost is simply too high. And the people who truly grasp this, the ones who are willing to walk away from situations that erode their peace without burning down the room in a dramatic exit, they are, in the best possible way, dangerous. They are dangerous because they cannot be manipulated. They will not be guilted into staying. And they certainly will not remain where their peace, their most precious commodity, keeps getting broken. See, most people aren't afraid of losing someone who needs them. They're afraid of losing someone who doesn't need them, but chose them. There's a world of difference in that distinction. When you operate from a place of knowing your worth, you become the latter. Someone who chooses and is chosen from a place of abundance, not scarcity. When you become acutely aware of what genuinely lifts your energy and what relentlessly drains it. You stop making decisions from a place of loneliness or desperation. Instead, you start making them from a place of clarity, of inner knowing. And that, my friends, is rare. That is magnetic. That is what makes people genuinely want to earn a place in your life, rather than simply assuming one. Carl Jung, again, with his piercing insight, said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But the profound truth is, once you do, once you embrace yourself fully, flaws and all, you stop asking others to do it for you. And when you're no longer performing for love, when you shed the masks and the desperate pleas for validation, people begin to see the real you. That version, the one who is grounded, self-respecting, and utterly unwilling to play small, is the version they truly don't want to lose, because that kind of presence is stabilizing. It's refreshing. It's real. It's a beacon in a world of shifting sand. But let's be clear about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls designed to push people away. On the contrary, they are filters. They don't push the right people away. They let the right ones in. Boundaries are a clear, compassionate declaration. Here's what I will allow, and here's what I won't. Not because I'm cold or uncaring, but because I'm clear. And that clarity, that unwavering self-definition, is what keeps your energy safe. It's what ensures you're not constantly in repair mode, perpetually recovering from emotional wounds that should have never breached your inner sanctuary in the first place. It's an act of self-preservation, a sacred commitment to your own well-being. Socrates, in his timeless wisdom, taught that the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So, if you're tired of being drained, overlooked, or taken for granted, maybe it's time to stop trying to fix the people who don't know how to value you. Maybe it's time to build a new standard for yourself. A new way of showing up in the world that doesn't bend and break just to keep a superficial peace. Because peace that costs you your self-worth is not peace at all. It's merely disguised self-abandonment. And here's the thing. Knowing what you deserve doesn't mean you think you're better than anyone else. It simply means you finally decided you're not less. That profound decision changes everything. It changes the way you speak, the way you love, the way you choose. You stop entertaining half effort, half presence, half truths. You don't demand perfection from others, but you absolutely require consistency. You don't want fairy tales. You want honesty, integrity, and genuine connection. And you stop asking, am I asking for too much? And start asking, with liberating clarity, why was I settling for so little? Aristotle, once more, reminds us, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So, let self-respect become a habit. Let saying no when something feels off become natural, an intuitive response. Let choosing peace over fleeting popularity become your guiding principle. And watch what happens. The world will adjust. The wrong ones will naturally fall away, no longer able to resonate with your elevated frequency. And the right ones, the ones who truly see and value you, will rise to meet you. So, here's your challenge. Revisit your standards today. Not your wish list, not some fantastical ideal, but your non-negotiables. The fundamental things that protect your peace, that honor your time, that safeguard your very being. Because once those are firmly in place, you stop waiting to be treated right. You start expecting it. And that, my friends, changes absolutely everything. It's the foundation of an unforgettable presence, built on the solid rock of self-worth. Trait 6. The depth of feeling. Emotional intensity as a superpower. There's this unspoken rule, isn't there, floating around in the ether of modern society. A subtle yet pervasive directive that whispers, don't feel too much. Don't speak too passionately. Don't care too deeply. Just be chill, be easy, be low maintenance. We're encouraged to be agreeable, to avoid making waves, to present a placid, unruffled exterior. But let's be brutally honest, none of that creates real connection. It creates distance. It fosters performance. It turns you into a muted, diluted version of yourself, a shadow of the vibrant, complex being you truly are. And if you've ever been told you're too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too intense, I want you to hear this loud and clear and let it resonate deep within your soul. That's not a flaw. That's a gift. You feel deeply because you care deeply. You express intensely because you are profoundly alive. You are not too much. You are simply not easy to ignore. And that, in itself, is a powerful, unforgettable quality. Carl Jung, whose insights we've explored throughout this journey, believed that the emotional world was not something to repress, to shove down into the dark corners of our psyche. On the contrary, it was something to integrate, to understand, to embrace as a vital part of our wholeness. He famously said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." That intensity you carry, that profound capacity for feeling, it's not there to break you, it's there to wake you. It's the part of you that simply won't allow life to remain at a superficial level. It demands depth. It craves meaning. And yes, it may make some people uncomfortable. But that, my friends, is not your problem to fix. That discomfort usually says far more about their own emotional limitations, their own fear of feeling, than it does about your emotional intelligence or your inherent worth. And let's talk about intelligence for a second. Emotional depth is not weakness. It is, in fact, a profound form of wisdom. Aristotle spoke of the virtue of moderation, but he didn't mean suppressing your nature, flattening your emotional landscape. He meant mastering it, directing it, feeling without drowning, loving without losing yourself. That's the crucial difference between chaos and courage. And make no mistake, your ability to feel deeply, to experience the full spectrum of human emotion, is an act of immense courage. Because in a world where most people numb out, scroll endlessly through distractions, or build impenetrable walls around their hearts, you show up with your heart still open, still vulnerable, still willing to engage with the raw beauty and pain of existence. That's not too much. That's rare. Now, why do people call you too much? Because intensity, true intensity, cannot be easily controlled. It demands presence. It asks uncomfortable questions. It feels everything, and that level of honesty, that raw authenticity, often scares those who are hiding behind masks of indifference or superficiality. Your passion makes them question their own apathy. Your tears, your vulnerability, make them face their own numbness. Your truth, simply by existing, makes them profoundly uncomfortable with their own lies, their own carefully constructed facades. So, rather than doing the difficult inner work, to meet you where you are, to expand their own capacity for feeling, they resort to labeling. They call you too intense, too emotional, too complicated. But that's not truth. That's projection. It's a reflection of their own discomfort, not a judgment of your inherent value. And the Stoics, yes, even these masters of self-discipline and rational thought, never told us to deny emotion. They told us to understand it, to examine it, to direct it wisely. Marcus Aurelius, in his profound meditations, wrote, "You have power over your mind knot, outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That includes your emotional life. You don't need to tone yourself down, to dilute your essence. You just need to direct your fire, to channel your passion, to let your emotions inform you, not rule you. That's strength. That's emotional maturity. That's what truly sets you apart, making you a force to be reckoned with, a presence that cannot be easily forgotten." Socrates once said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom." Well, knowing yourself means knowing how deeply you feel, how intensely you experience the world, and not making yourself wrong for it. It means honoring the fact that your sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's a heightened awareness. It's your radar for truth, your intuitive guide. It's the reason you walk into a room and feel what no one is saying. It's why your intuition is so strong, why your connections go deeper, and why the people who truly know you feel seen in a way they've never felt before. So, no, you're not too much. You're just unwilling to live small. You're unwilling to fake indifference. You're unwilling to detach from the things that matter most to you. That doesn't make you difficult. That makes you authentic. And in a world that constantly teaches people to shut down, to numb out, to disconnect, you are choosing, consciously and courageously, to stay open. That's a choice. That's a strength. And it is profoundly unforgettable. So, the next time someone tells you you're too much, smile. Look them in the eye with quiet confidence and say, then go find less. Because you are not shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You are expanding into your full emotional power, embracing the magnificent depth of your being. And the people who are truly meant for you, they'll never ask you to shrink. They'll rise to meet you. They'll match your depth. They'll celebrate your passion, not flinch from it. Because people who feel deeply love deeply. And people who love deeply, truly deeply, they change lives. So don't dim that light. Don't dilute that essence. Be all of you. Be bold. Be passionate. Be honest, because that's how you leave your indelible mark on the world. Not by being agreeable, but by being gloriously, unapologetically real. Trait 7. The overflowing cup. Loving from fullness, not emptiness. There's a kind of love that feels less like connection and more like pressure, like a heavy weight. It's the kind that whispers, "Don't leave me, I need you to be okay." Or, "I can't live without you." While often not born of malicious intent, it's a love that suffocates instead of supports. And here's the profound reason why. When you love from a place of emptiness, that love inevitably becomes a transaction, a subtle plea for emotional survival. You're not truly offering love, you're offering need. You're seeking to fill a void within yourself through another person. And that kind of love no matter how sincere it may feel in the moment, ultimately ends up exhausting both people involved. It creates a dynamic of dependency, a constant drain on emotional resources, rather than a mutual upliftment. Carl Jung, once again, provides a powerful lens through which to view this. He stated, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But that, paradoxically, is also precisely where real love begins. Because once you accept yourself fully, deeply, and without conditions, all your strengths, all your weaknesses, all your light, and all your shadow, your love, stops being something you desperately need to survive. Instead, it transforms into something you consciously choose to give. You are no longer handing people your broken pieces and begging them to glue you back together. You are whole. And when you are whole, your love becomes light. It becomes peace. It uplifts instead of overwhelms. You see, people often mistakenly think intensity equals love, or that clinging to someone means connection. But real connection isn't built on a fear of losing someone. It's built on the profound freedom to choose them over and over again, without fear, without dependency, without the desperate need for them to complete you. And that kind of love born from wholeness is incredibly rare. Because it's not about possession, it's about presence. It says, "I'm here because I want to be, not because I'll fall apart if I'm not." The Stoics taught that our peace should never be at the mercy of things we cannot control. Epictetus reminded us, only the educated are free. In this context, he meant emotionally educated, free from the desperate need to be validated, to feel worthy, free from giving love just to receive it back. When you've done the inner work, when you've diligently filled your own cup with self-acceptance, self-respect, and inner peace, you don't chase love anymore. You radiate it. And radiance, my friends, is profoundly unforgettable. Think about it. When someone walks into a room with a calm confidence, with a joy that doesn't rely on others for its existence, you feel it. It's magnetic. It's grounding. It's healing. And people fear losing that kind of energy, not because it feeds their ego, but because it awakens something real, something stable, something sacred within themselves. You don't get that kind of presence from someone who's emotionally starving, constantly seeking to be filled by others. You get it from someone who knows they're already full, already complete. And anything they share, any love they offer, is a genuine gift, an overflow, not a desperate cry for rescue. Socrates once said, "The hottest love has the coldest end." He was speaking of the kind of love born from obsession, from neediness, from trying to fill a void through someone else. It burns brightly, intensely, but it consumes itself, leaving only ashes. But when your love starts from fullness, when it flows from a life you've meticulously built, from a peace you've diligently earned, from a joy you've discovered in your own quiet solitude, that love doesn't burn out. It evolves, it breathes, it expands. It doesn't collapse under its own weight because it's not asking to be saved. It's offering a hand to walk beside someone, to share a journey, to co-create something beautiful. This is precisely why it's so incredibly important to fill your own cup first. Not later, not when someone worthy comes along. But now, Because if your cup is empty, if you're constantly operating from a place of deficit, you will inevitably drain every connection you make, trying to quench a thirst that only you can truly satisfy. But if your cup is full, if you've spent time healing, loving yourself, building your sense of worth, then you will give from your overflow. And the people who deserve to be close to you, the ones who truly resonate with your authentic self, they won't try to drink from your source. They'll be nourished by the abundance, and they'll honor it, recognizing the sacredness of your well-being. Aristotle believed that the highest form of love, philia, was not romantic love, but virtuous friendship, a bond between people who seek the good in each other and in themselves. That kind of love doesn't cling. It doesn't control. It strengthens both people to become more of who they truly are, and you only get there by being whole before you arrive. So ask yourself, with deep introspection, am I giving love from a wound or from wisdom? Am I offering my heart from a place of fear or from a place of profound freedom? Because love should never feel like a lifeline, a desperate grab for survival. It should feel like light. And the truth is, you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone who complements the wholeness you've already fought hard to earn. That's the energy people are afraid to lose. That's the presence they'll never find twice. So, take care of yourself first. Fill your soul. Know your worth. And then, when you love, let it be a pure, unadulterated reflection of your fullness, not a desperate plea to be filled. The right ones? They won't just stay. They'll protect that light within you, because they'll know they're in the presence of something rare, something precious, and you'll know it too. The most unforgettable energy you will ever carry is the quiet knowing that you are whole, complete, and magnificent without needing to prove, perform, or chase. When you choose yourself first, the right people will never ask you to shrink. They will rise with you. Remember, the world doesn't need another filtered personality. It needs you, the real you. The messy, beautiful, evolving, courageous you. The one who dares to be authentic, to embrace imperfection, to stand firm in their truth, to continuously grow, to set unyielding standards, to feel deeply, and to love from an overflowing cup. This is the essence of Stoicism applied to modern life. A philosophy not of rigid suppression, but of profound self-awareness and empowered living. If this message stirred something within you, if it resonated with a truth you've always felt but perhaps struggled to articulate, then I invite you to continue this journey with me. Subscribe to Sophia Stoicism for more insights, more reflections, and more practical wisdom to navigate the complexities of life with grace and strength. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and let's build a community dedicated to becoming our most authentic, unforgettable selves. Thank you for being here, for being a part of this space, and for daring to embark on the most important journey of all, the journey back to yourself. The journey continues. We'll be right here when you're ready for the next step. 4. The continuous becoming. We embraced growth not as a destination, but as a lifelong journey of refining who you are. It's a conscious choice, a daily habit of self-respect, where you shed old versions of yourself, not out of self-rejection, but out of a profound love for the person you are becoming. This continuous evolution radiates a quiet power. 5. The unyielding standard. We learn the vital importance of setting boundaries, not as walls, but as filters that protect your peace and energy. Knowing your worth means you stop settling for less and start expecting to be treated with the respect you deserve. This unyielding standard attracts those who truly value you. 6. The depth of feeling. We challenged the notion of being too much, reframing emotional intensity as a superpower. Your capacity for deep feeling is a gift, a radar for truth, and a source of profound connection. When you embrace your emotional depth, you become unapologetically real and deeply magnetic. 7. The overflowing cup. Finally, we understood that true love and connection flow from a place of fullness, not emptiness. By filling your own cup with self-acceptance and inner peace, you radiate an abundance that attracts genuine, complementary relationships rather than draining, transactional ones. This journey of becoming unforgettable is not about chasing external validation or manipulating others' perceptions. It is, at its heart, a journey of profound self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-mastery. It's about cultivating an inner world so rich, so authentic, so unshakable, that your presence naturally leaves an indelible mark. It's about living from the inside out, aligning your actions with your deepest values, and embracing every facet of your unique being. Conclusion: the unforgettable journey of becoming. We've journeyed together through 7 profound traits, 7 paradoxical truths that reveal the path to becoming truly unforgettable. It's a path less traveled, certainly, one that often runs counter to the prevailing currents of societal expectation. But it is a path that leads to genuine freedom, deep connection, and an unshakable sense of self. Let's quickly recap the lessons we've uncovered. In 1, the courage of authenticity. We learned that true magnetism comes not from flawless perfection, but from the brave act of unmasking the real you. Performance exhausts, authenticity liberates. Embrace your true self with all its beautiful complexities, and you will attract those who truly resonate with your essence. 2. The power of imperfection. We discovered that perfection creates distance, while shared humanity, pain, and struggle forge genuine bonds. Your scars are not signs of weakness, but proof of your resilience and capacity for healing. Owning your shadows, as Jung taught, is the beginning of true self-knowledge and power. 3. The unshakable core. We explored the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus, understanding that true freedom lies in distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. By focusing on our internal responses and detaching from external validation, we cultivate an unshakable inner peace that makes us immune to the whims of the world